We begin in Crimea, where residents voted overwhelmingly on Sunday to secede from Ukraine and join Russia. In the city of Simferopol, crowds of pro-Russian citizens poured into the streets to celebrate after a late-night announcement of the preliminary results. The head of the referendum committee said with half the ballots counted, more than 95% of voters had approved joining Russia. Team coverage begins with CCTV's Tom Barton. He's live for us in Simferopol. And Tom, how did the day unfold there?
Well, the atmosphere here, although the rain is pouring down, is one of those chants, Russia, Russia, across Simferopol, the regional capital of Crimea, with those pro-Russian crowds gathering in Central Square, listening to music, drinking, dancing and waving free Russian flags that they were given out by organisers there as well. And that follows the vote today, 12 hours of voting with local election officials saying that record numbers had turned out, but also not ignoring the ethnic Ukrainians and the Crimean Tatars who, in a large measure, refused to turn up and cast their votes. Either too scared were they, or they were in accordance with Kiev, who consider this vote illegitimate.
And Tom, what can you tell us about the conduct of this election?
Well, across the territory, polling booths were set up and people were encouraged to come along and place their votes. We went to see them early in the morning and we saw quite a healthy turnout in some of the central regions, with more of the ethnic Russians turning out. It did seem the skew was also towards older voters, a lot of them carrying their old Soviet passports, remembering the days of the Soviet Union. But in those polling booths that were in areas perhaps dominated more by Crimean Tatars, it seemed a lot slower and quieter, and some of those polling booths gaining a lot fewer votes than they had expected, especially from those Crimean Tatars. There was also the presence of Russian troops, or so says Kiev and the international community. Moscow denies that, saying they're self-defense forces. But again, Crimean Tatars and some other international observers, one from Kyrgyzstan that I spoke to, said, how is it supposed to be a fair vote with these soldiers standing over and watching us place our ballots?
Tom, and you've been talking to people there. I mean, those people who voted to secede and rejoin Russia, I mean, are they expecting that to happen relatively quickly, or do they see a long, drawn-out process? There still has a vote to be taken in the Russian Duma, and are they also aware that this referendum may be used in some way as a bargaining tactic by President Putin?
Well, a delegation has been announced will fly to Moscow from the local parliament here, a local parliament, it must be said, that has already been disbanded by Kiev's new leaders. But they will fly, and Moscow has already said it will accept the will of the people here in that overwhelming vote, classed as illegitimate by Kiev and the EU and the US. But when they get to Moscow, they will ask to become part of the Russian Federation, a subject of the Russian Federation, which would reverse a decision made all the way back in 1954 by one of the Soviet leaders then, Nikita Khrushchev. So that could be a historic moment that Russians have been shouting about in the streets here. Whether all of those legal steps can be gone through quickly is probably quite a technical question, how you can expand a country if that's done quickly. But certainly one thing is for sure, Kiev will not be happy and pro-Russians here will be happy.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Tom Barton there reporting from Simferopol in Crimea.